let's define these terms, let's separate them, and then we'll talk about how we bring them all together. Defining multi-channel. So what is multi-channel? Multi-channel, simply put, it's the various ways in which customers choose, and I think that's critical, to communicate with your contact center. Whether it's by phone, by web chat, IVR, email, SMS. The obstacle this presents, however, in providing multi-channel is not necessarily multi-channel in and of itself, but it's most applications. When you look at multi-channel, they are application silos, and they have disparate repositories of data and information. So then that gets us to the scenario where if I'm transferred in, I have to ask the question again, what is your account number? And that's because data is across different apps, and the information may not be shared across those apps. And oftentimes, multi-channel puts us into a cumbersome experience, both from the customer point of view, certainly that was my experience, as well as from the agent point of view. And we'll talk about that in just a moment. And with multi-channel, there is a level of integration required. Now, the term integration doesn't have to be a scary term. Thankfully, more and more applications are built with integration in mind, which has changed the cumbersome developer's mindset to a more point and click. Let me just install applications like I would on my iPhone or my Android. So that's sort of the mindset that we have moved into, but there is a level of integration required. Continuing on the multi-channel, let's talk about some operational challenges. With multi-channel, because they're siloed operations typically, or applications, sometimes operations as well, agents will likely use separate applications in many cases for each type of communication. And it's not uncommon that I've been to a contact center where the client will have an ACD system for phone calls, and they'll have a entirely separate web-based application for web chat. And there's inherent obstacles with that. One of the challenges, too, for the agent specifically is application ease and training. When you have disparate systems, you spend more time training them on the different systems or interfaces, and oftentimes different processes. Typically, it requires a level of integration. So if you don't have a built-in mechanism for web chat on your ACD contact center solution, you've got to bring in some integration to bridge it together. And the number one challenge most of this presents to the director of a contact center or the supervisor is reporting. Anyone that's been in a contact center lives and breathes by reporting, and this is such critical information. So presenting a solution with reporting challenges on top of the need for multi-channel, that's the number one challenge I see as reporting challenge. So it's a disservice across the board. That's not to say that people are not effective. I just want to be clear about that. Now, let's define omni-channel. Now, the concept of omni-channel is basically unifying accessibility and data across all channels. Essentially, the concepts of omni-channel is creating one global channel. Whether the call or communication from your customer comes in as a phone call, or through web chat, or is transferred in from an IVR or SMS, all these things are critical. But when you can unify those into one communication experience, this is really what omni-channel. So you can see already how multi-channel and omni-channel sort of go hand in hand. And over the last year and a half, 2 years, omni-channel has gotten a lot of press, and consequently a lot of clients have become confused. So omni-channel really is unifying all communication, multiple channels, into an omni-channel or one channel experience. And the benefit of that is really it's a nimble process with the customer in mind, but I'll also say with the agents in mind as well. And this could be a phone call, an email, a web chat, SMS, mobile. We've talked about those among other applications, just to reiterate.